I think as a driver though, like you have to believe that you are always the best. We just have to try and make the car as fast as we can.
Hold on, because the internet has been going crazy saying Max Verstappen is done, Max is leaving, Max is crying about the rules because he is losing. And honestly, it has become a joke at this point. But let me show you something that changes everything. The same FIA that ignored him for 3 years just held emergency meetings, rewrote their regulations, and confirmed rule changes 5 days before Miami. It means Max is not leaving, he is competing with these rules. So while everyone was busy making fun of Max, he was quietly forcing the most powerful organization in motorsport to bend. Let's break it down. But before, if you want more updates and news on Max, then hit that like button and subscribe for more breakdowns. He said it in 2023, nobody listened. Now, before anything else, let me address the thing that is bothering me the most about this whole conversation online. Everyone is saying Max is only criticizing these 2026 regulations because Red Bull is slow and he's not dominating anymore. And guys, that narrative is just completely wrong, and the timeline destroys it immediately. Because Max started raising these concerns back in 2023 when he was absolutely untouchable.
To me, it looks pretty terrible. I think that's not the way forward.
Red Bull was winning everything, Max was dominating every single weekend, and still he stood up in front of the cameras after winning in Austria and said these 2026 rules are going to be a serious problem. He said drivers would have to downshift on the straights just to manage battery energy. He said the concept felt fundamentally broken. He said the cars would feel completely wrong to drive. And what did Formula One do with all of that? Nothing. Because when you are winning championships by massive margins, nobody takes your complaints seriously. They just assumed he was being difficult. But he was not being difficult, he was reading the data 2 years before everyone else caught up. Max is not going anywhere. Now this is the chapter everyone is twisting into something it is not. After finishing 8th at the Japanese Grand Prix, Max told BBC Radio 5 Live that he is thinking about everything inside this paddock, and the entire internet immediately turned that into a retirement headline. But listen to what he actually said. He said privately he is very happy. He said he enjoys working with his team like a second family. He said he can easily accept finishing 7th or 8th because he understands where Red Bull currently stands. What he cannot accept is sitting inside a car that does not feel like Formula One anymore. He said it is not about money anymore, and think about what that actually means coming from him, a man at the very top of this sport, earning more than anyone else on the grid, is telling you that money is not the reason he shows up. The sport itself is the reason. And right now, the sport has stopped feeling like the sport he fell in love with as a kid. That is not a quitter talking. That is someone who cares more than anyone else in that paddock. What the fans are saying. Now, here is something interesting because even among the fans, the conversation is split. A big part of the audience online is saying Max is just being a stubborn baby. One comment that kept coming up was he was saying the same things when he was driving a rocket ship too. There has always been a certain stubbornness in his personality. And honestly, that point is not completely wrong. Max has always been vocal, always been direct, never sugarcoated anything. But here's what those fans are missing. The fact that he said the same things when he was winning is not a weakness. That is literally the proof that this was never about results. A man who complains only when he is losing is frustrated. A man who raises the same concerns when he is winning and when he is struggling is consistent. And consistency over 3 years on a technical argument is not stubbornness. That is called being right. The F1 boss responds. Now this is where the story gets really interesting. Stefano Domenicali, the CEO of Formula One himself, reportedly held private meetings with Max since pre-season trying to keep him calm and engaged, and then publicly came out and told Max to think about the weight of his words, which is honestly the most diplomatic way possible of saying, please stop telling the truth on camera because it is making us look bad. Think about what that moment actually means. The most powerful man in Formula One is personally calling the most competitive driver on the grid, asking him to tone it down. And Max did not stop. He did not soften anything. He kept pushing, kept speaking, kept applying pressure from inside the system. And eventually, Domenicali himself came out and said his voice has to be listened to. The FIA rewrote the rulebook. Emergency changes were confirmed before Miami. Max did not shout from outside the system. He pushed from inside it until the system moved. Red Bull's problem fighting in a broken car. And on top of everything else, Max is doing all of this while driving what analysts are genuinely calling the slowest Red Bull in 11 years. The RB22 is sitting almost a second off the pace in qualifying, just 16 points from the first 3 races, 6th in the Constructors' Championship, battling midfield teams, not championship contenders. The car is roughly 30 kilograms overweight, has serious balance issues through corners, and both Verstappen and his teammate have called it incredibly tough to drive. Team principal Laurent Mekies admitted they're wrestling with the RB22 and that there are significant shortcomings that need to be fixed. And here is the thing that makes this even more remarkable. The engine is actually competitive. The Red Bull Ford power unit is not the problem. The chassis around it is. So Max is out there every weekend pushing a broken car, fighting broken rules, and still showing up completely committed to his team. That is not someone who is checked out. That is someone who refuses to quit. The fighter's code. So let's bring everything together, because the full picture looks very different from what the headlines are giving you. Max raised these concerns in 2023 when he was winning everything, so this was never about results. His future comments were never about quitting. They were about a man who loves this sport more than anyone and cannot watch it become something unrecognizable. The fans who call him stubborn are actually proving his point without realizing it. The F1 CEO privately asked him to stay quiet and publicly ended up agreeing with him. And through all of this, he is showing up every weekend in the slowest Red Bull in over a decade and giving everything he has. This is not a champion fading out. This is a competitor going to war with a broken system and slowly winning. My opinion? The FIA did not change those rules because they wanted to. They changed them because Max made it impossible not to. Now tell me something. Do you think Formula One would have made these changes without Max pushing for them? Drop it in the comments. I want to know what you think.